Every human culture in history has done something with its dead. Not one society anywhere has simply walked away and left them. The treatment of the dead, burial, cremation, ritual, monument, appears to be universal. It crosses every cultural boundary we know of. That universality is telling you something about what it means to be human. But when did it start? When did ancient humans first stop leaving their dead where they fell and begin doing something intentional with them? The answer keeps getting pushed further back, and some of the most recent evidence suggests the behavior may be far older than our own species. Burial is both one of the easiest and one of the hardest prehistoric behaviors to study. Easy because deliberate burial preserves bodies. A person placed carefully in a grave, covered with earth, survives far better than a body left exposed. The act of burial is, accidentally, an act of preservation. Almost everything we know about ancient human anatomy comes from bodies that were deliberately buried. Hard, because proving intent is difficult. A body found in a pit is not automatically a burial. It could be natural, it could be accidental. To confirm deliberate burial, archaeologists look for specific signals. The body positioned carefully, rather than randomly, objects placed alongside it, ochre pigment applied to the remains, the grave cut into the earth with deliberate edges. When those signals combine, the case for intentional burial becomes compelling. The earliest unambiguous human burials associated with our species date to around 100,000 years ago in the caves of Qafzeh and Skhul in what is now Israel. At Qafzeh, the bodies were placed in deliberate positions. One burial included a child with deer antlers placed across their chest, a grave offering. Red ochre pigment was found across the site. These are not accidents. These are choices. What makes them significant is not just the age, it is the implication. Someone looked at a dead child and decided that leaving them where they fell was not enough. Something more was required. Something intentional. That is not an automatic behavior. It requires a relationship with death that goes beyond the immediate and physical. It requires the concept of the dead as something other than simply a body. Here's where it gets more complicated and more interesting. Neanderthals, who were burying their dead at sites across Europe and the Middle East long before modern humans arrived in the region, have been at the center of one of the most contested debates in prehistoric archaeology. At Shanidar cave in Iraq, researchers in the 1960s found Neanderthal burials accompanied by what appeared to be flower pollen, suggesting flowers had been placed on the graves. This became one of the most famous findings in paleontology. Neanderthals with flowers on their graves. Later analysis raised doubts. The pollen may have been introduced by burrowing rodents rather than by grieving Neanderthals. The flower burial interpretation has been challenged seriously. But deliberate Neanderthal burial itself, the careful positioning of bodies, the presence of grave goods at some sites, has not been successfully dismissed. The evidence from sites like La Farassy in France and Kabara Cave in Israel suggests that Neanderthals were doing something intentional with their dead more than 60,000 years ago. In 2015, an even older and more extraordinary claim emerged. In a cave system in South Africa called Rising Star, paleontologist Lee Berger's team found the remains of a previously unknown species, Homo naledi, deep in a chamber accessible only through a narrow passage. The remains showed signs of deliberate placement. In 2023, the team published evidence they believe supports intentional burial by Homo naledi, a species with a brain roughly a third the size of ours, dating to at least 250,000 years ago. If confirmed, this would suggest that deliberate treatment of the dead is not a behavior that emerged with large brains or modern cognition. It may be something older, something that different branches of the human family independently arrived at. So, when did ancient humans start burying their dead? At least 100,000 years ago with certainty. Possibly 60,000 years ago with Neanderthals. Possibly 250,000 years ago or more if the Homo naledi evidence holds. But the more important answer may be this. Every time the evidence is examined, the behavior turns out to be older than previously thought. Every time we look back, we find that ancient humans of multiple species in multiple places were already doing something about death. What they were doing tells us something about what they understood. That the dead mattered. That what you did with them mattered. That understanding may be one of the oldest things about us. Like and subscribe if you enjoy these videos. I'll see you in the next one.